My life after stimming for 49 years. So, what is stimming? It's rocking back and forth for me. It's different for other people who are autistic or autistically inclined. And some people shake their feet, their legs, they hum, they tap, they make noises. I rock back and forth. So, what I mean by that is I usually do this on a bed, but I put my knuckles down on the bed and I rock back and forth like this. So I basically started doing this on a rocking horse when I was 2 years old. I was born in Newport Beach, California, and Southern California. And I don't remember this. My parents told me how I started rocking, but it was on a rocking horse. And I would watch my dad build a sailboat in our backyard while I was rocking. And as I got older, I would rock on the carpet on the floor watching TV with my parents. I was raised on TV like most American families, my sister and I. Um, I would rock back and forth on my bed. I had to go to bed early, so I would rock on my bed and I would hum and make up songs and pretend I was a disc jockey and radio announcer, make my own little shows. Because I had to go to bed at like 7. I mean, it was like 8 p.m. when I was 14 after the Muppet Show was over. So I was very imaginative and constantly thinking about ideas and daydreaming. I hated school because I couldn't daydream. I couldn't rock. And then as got older, when I was 12, I discovered heavy metal. Or, no, back then it was hard rock. Iron Maiden. I heard Iron Maiden on the radio when my mom was driving me home from school. And I was like, what is this? And it had power behind it. It had energy, kind of aggressive energy, like a war song, you know. It was a war song because it was "Run to the Hills" by Iron Maiden, so it had that like horse galloping beat, and I at this point I was rocking, um, I was rocking after dinner. So after dinner, I would stare out the window. We had these big windows overlooking the bay in Washington State, Victorian town, and I could see the Puget Sound. I could watch the freighters and the tugboats go by, which is perfect for an autistic kid because I love tugboats. I love smokestacks. I loved seeing exhaust leaving smokestacks. I love the smell of diesel. My dad had a sailboat, and I remember like literally just hanging my head over the bow or the stern of the boat, sniffing the exhaust from the sailboat. Crazy, funny stuff. But so I'd listen to music after. I would rock and listen to music after dinner, and so I started falling behind my schoolwork. And I listened to everything. I listened to my dad's blues music. We'd go on road trips, and I would have a Walkman with the headphones, and I'd listen to it so loud that my ears would ring, and my dad would always be like this, "Turn it down." And I'd listen to his music, his blues. I listened to my sister's pop music, like Prince and Men at Work and the Go Go's. And I started playing drums. My mom finally gave me a drum set because she was tired of me tapping on the arms of the couches and stuff, stealing her wood spoons from the kitchen. Finally got a drum set, a 7-piece Rogers, and kind of disco laminate on the shells of the drums. And it took another 6 months to get a cymbal for it. So I just played the rims for cymbals. And so I was just enamored with rock and roll. It kind of opened up a new fantasy world for me. Um, And I used to talk to my mom about Eddie, the mascot for Iron Maiden. I was like, he does these different, he's one thing one minute, and he transforms into another creature on the next album that Iron Maiden releases. And I was so excited. And my mom was always very supportive of my wild ideas and fantasies, and she would listen to me. She was genuinely interested in what I had to say. I mean, my mom is like an angel on this earth. Um, Very patient and understanding and loving. So she would just listen to my daydreams all the time. And my daydreams are about, becoming a rock and roll star, a drummer. And, but, so I listened to a lot of music, and I started failing out of school. And by the time I was 17, my parents couldn't keep me in school anymore. And that was a shame, because they said if I graduated, they would have paid for my music school in Hollywood to play drums. But I'm glad I didn't go, looking back, because I had such an addictive personality, which I would find out later. I started drinking, and that's a whole nother story. I mean, when I alcohol first touched my lips and it went through into my bloodstream, I felt immortal. I mean, it was like a whole new world just opened up, and all the weight lifted off my shoulders of having a strict dad. My dad he was a control freak, like I am now today. I'm just like my dad today. But he was very controlling, huge temper. He'd fly off the handle, and it scared me. His temper scared me. And I think boys either become fighters themselves, or they become scared and not want to rock the boat or fight. So I chose not to fight. I didn't like fighting. I never got in a fist fight in school. Um, Bullies picked on me, but I wasn't the most picked on. I could get along with all the groups in school, um, except the grade A preppies. I mean, I was friends with a couple brainiacs, but most of my friends were jocks and butt rockers, and they listened to Judas Priest and Ozzy, and I grew up with those guys. And they would smoke in their basement, and I'd always hang out with them. They chewed tobacco or they smoked cigarettes. Everyone smoked cigarettes or chewed tobacco, it seemed like. And we used to play lots of Nintendo. And anyways, I dropped out of school and discovered alcohol. And at this point, I'm not rocking too much, maybe 2 or 3 hours a day in the evening to kind of wind down. But I always had a restaurant job. I was always washing dishes, or I was a prep cook. But I was constantly daydreaming about becoming a rock and roll drummer. And then when I was 19, it was poetry. And then when I was 20, it was like I wanted to be the great American writer. And so I was always fascinated with the arts. Um, and I'm rocking 2 or 3 hours a day. So fast forward 20 years, I started rocking more and more. And then about 10 years ago, I was a caregiver. And at this point, I was like an extreme drunk. Like, I would work in the restaurants, and then I would get drunk after work. And then I'd be hungover in the morning. And it got to the point where my alcoholism evolved, meaning that I was willing to do anything to not feel that hangover. And a friend turned me on to chasing the hair of the dog or something like that, like drinking a beer in the morning to get rid of the hangover. And the first time I tried it, I puked, but after that, I got used to it. And then pretty soon it was just part of my routine. I could drink all the time. What a fascinating concept, to for an alcoholic to drink whenever he wanted. It was mind blowing. And then it got to the point where I stopped eating food because I didn't want to ruin my buzz. Oh, I can't eat. That would ruin my buzz. I only got $6 for this malt liquor, and I cherished every beer I had. If I ran out of beer, I was terrified. Every full beer I had was kind of like money in the bank. It gave me this sense of security. Like, okay, I got 4 full beers left, you know? And it's kind of sick if you think about it, but if you're an addict or an alcoholic, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You cuddle, you hold on to your addiction like a baby. So I got to the point where I was drinking, getting drunk twice a day, and I could barely hold on to a job, and I was living in a converted school bus. My rent was only $150 a month. And now, since I'm caregiving, I'm rocking from morning until night. And when my friend died, my best friend died, um, I went dark, and I just rocked for a week straight in my bus. I didn't shower. I didn't clip my nails. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't have a job. Or I took time off, something like that. It was like a whole week of sloth, just sloth. Like I could smell myself. But there was like a demon inside of me that liked it. It's hard to explain, but they name demons after behaviors or personalities, and there's a demon of, that one of the deadly sins is sloth and gluttony. But I think there's a demon of filth, and a demon of sloth, and a demon of pity, and all those things. But I got like this sense of pleasure from just sitting there rocking. And at this point, I was listening to Death Cab for Cutie. I forgot the name. It was Transatlanticism. Very melancholy album, whimsical and melancholy. Pacific Northwest band. They're very sensitive up there. I mean, that's where I'm from, so I can make fun of it. But I just rocked and listened to that album over and over. And that's the thing with people with autism. They can listen to the same song or the same album over and over and over and over, and almost make like a demented, twisted game out of it. Like, how many times can I play this record? How many times can I play this song over and over and over? And I did that, and my dad came over to check on me, and I was crying, and I was like, go get me a bottle of wine. And my dad never condoned me drinking, and he did. He cared. He was so worried about me that he went and got me a bottle of wine. Then my girlfriend came over, and I was like, give me anything you got. And she had some Xanax or something. Pop those. I mean, I was just popping pills and drinking and rocking. No one ever picked on me for rocking. And but anyways, after that 1 week of rocking and sloth and not showering, I kind of got addicted to it. I got addicted to filth. It was weird. Like, I was like, wow, I can get away with not doing anything with my life. This is crazy. And so I pushed the envelope. And in the back of my mind, I always thought that I could get away with anything. I mean, like, experiment with anything and survive. Because I was a writer, and I believe that writers had to go into things. Like a journalist. A journalist has to go to the front line of a war and report. So I'm like, I'm going to report from the front lines of complete demoralization. So I made it a game. And so, at this point, my girlfriend's abusing me. She went to jail for hitting me. I'm getting drunk twice a day, barely working. And I can hardly think because I'm not eating. I can't even hold down yogurt anymore. My stomach's so inflamed. And I'm just rocking. And it got so bad, the alcohol stripped away my dopamine. So I had no feel good chemicals in my brain. And, I love music. I listen to music while I rock. I listen to music 14 hours a day with the rocking. But it got to the point where my dopamine was so low, I got irritated hearing music. So at the end of my drinking, I was literally just rocking in this dark room while my girlfriend was at work. I rocked all day in this dark room. And the first beer in the morning, I puked it all over the floor because I couldn't, my stomach was so irritated. I was drinking Steel Reserve, which makes you crazy, and it's super cheap and super strong. And I'm crying every other day. And there's this, I'm imagining this giant bumblebee in the closet with big eyes, like a cartoon bumblebee. And I called her Mrs. Bumble. And she used to make me cry. I mean, it's the weirdest thing, but cartoons make me cry when they're innocent. You know, when they have a smile on their face, they're like this. Or something happens to them and they get hurt. I don't know what it is. Maybe I still have that boy inside of me who doesn't like to see people get hurt. But cartoons. But anyway, so she'd come out and she'd look at me with her big eyes, and I'd start to cry. And I mean, I'm doing this all by myself in a dark room while my girlfriend's at work, you know, making $50,000 a year, you know, at this office job, doing well. She can handle her alcohol. In fact, she didn't really drink around me. She was more like my caregiver at that point. But I'm rocking 14 hours a day, and there was no hope for me. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, even my spark was gone. My eyes looked like dead fish's eyes. I was so malnourished and drunk or hungover or drunk or not even hungover, just pickled. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And then finally one day, and you know, I quit drinking over the years, but only for like a month or two. The longest I went was like 9 months. I got my 1 year coin actually from AA, and then I relapsed after that. But this was a really bad binge, like a 4-year binge. Like I was gonna die. My only friend was like, dude, you're gonna die in a year. But that didn't stop me. The heart attack didn't stop me. Nothing stopped me until one day I'm at my girlfriend's house and I'm lying in bed naked. I sleep in the nude. She already went to work. It's 8:30 in the morning and I'm shaking from DTs. I got my beer by my side. I know I have 2 full beers in the fridge, so I feel safe. Okay, at least until noon. Then I don't know what I'm going to do. But this punk comes in. He's a friend of hers. He's a skateboard punk. And he never really liked me, but, you know, he hung out with all of us, but, you know, he didn't really talk to me that much. But so he noticed that I was alone. And there's like a ukulele guitar, mini guitar in the corner. You know, it was my girlfriend's son's guitar, so it was a mini guitar ukulele thing. And he picked it up and he sat down. So he's facing me. He's in the corner and I'm in the bed trembling. He doesn't know I'm naked or trembling. And he just started making songs about me, making fun of me. Eric's a weirdo. Eric's a weirdo. Eric's a weirdo. And, you know, like I knew I was dying from alcohol. And my friends told me I was dying. I couldn't hold a job. I was puking up yogurt. And nothing made me stop drinking except for that guy. That guy made me stop drinking because I felt powerless. He shamed me. I felt pathetic more than ever. First of all, I don't like being called weird. Second of all, I was powerless. I couldn't get up and kick him out, even though he was scrawny and short. I was powerless. And just feeling that powerless and being made fun of in my own house or my girlfriend's house, but it was considered my house, that was it. You know, when he left, I looked around and I was like, I'm done. I grabbed my backpack, I grabbed the 2 beers from the fridge. I still had my converted school bus, and I walked back to my bus. And I nursed those 2 beers, and they probably saved my life because you can die from withdrawals if you cut cold turkey. So I slowly nursed those beers until evening, and then I slept like 14 hours. And when I got up, I was like, okay, I have to go back to work. And I went back to work, and it was Thanksgiving, I think. And they were having a party at the restaurant. I was working in restaurants again, but just very part time. But they offered me a beer. They never offered me a beer before Thanksgiving party. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to go home. I could barely walk. My legs were so weak from rocking 14 hours a day, just getting drunk, being slothful, not clipping my nails, not showering, being in a dark room. You can die really fast in a dark room not doing anything. So I started to slowly build back my strength. I joined the gym again. I got a second job. And for the next 2 years, I ignored everyone and I just went straight home. The girlfriend would come over and bang on the door. I said, I just need to be alone. And after a year, she got the hint that it was over. And I just worked and I worked and I worked. And then I met a new girl who didn't like drinking anyways. And in the next 6 months, I bought a new bus that drove and traded the old one in, and we drove out of that town. And so that was, we drove out of that town 10 years ago, but I've been sober for 13 with a couple 2-day relapses. But that's my story. And so I rocked and I rocked and I rocked. I got a little off track with this video. I was supposed to just talk about the rocking. But so when I got sober, I rocked more. I just traded one addiction for another. And this is my second month with no rocking. But I'm finding myself tapping my feet more and humming songs. I really miss listening to hard rock. I said I wouldn't listen to metal here. I wouldn't rock. I wouldn't fap. And I wouldn't listen to metal. The 3 M's. Metal, movement, and master beating. But I broke a couple of those rules. Except for the rocking. So anyways, that's my story. So if you can relate to any of this, please leave a comment. And thank you if you've watched all the way through. I know it's hard for people with autism and OCD to listen to anything long these days, especially with how crazy the world is. But we'll continue this, okay? And leave a comment. How are you doing? Enough about me. How are you doing? And I love your comments. So keep it going. Let's get this channel big. Let's spread the news. Let's spread the good news. We can do anything we want with our life. We have tremendous power when we focus on one thing. People with autism are extremely smart. And if they focused on the right thing, they could be like Elon Musk. I think he has autism. Or if you focus on your addictions, you could die fast. It's up to you. But we'll talk to you soon.